Antonio, so glad to have you again in this conference, and absolutely excited about your new insights that you are going to share in your keynote speech. So without waiting, let's move straight to the content. So I give you the floor, Antonio.
Thank you, Mitun. It's an honor to be here. Hi, everybody, and I hope you enjoy my presentation. I'm going to share my screen, and we should be able to see it right now. So what I'm going to be talking is about a concept I developed a few years ago, which I call the project economy. And what does it mean? And what are the implications? And even more important is what needs to be reinvented in project management to be successful in this new opportunity that is presented to us. My background, I think you can see, I was chairman of PMI in 2016, and I launched the Brightline initiative, which was aimed at closing the gap between strategy and implementation. And 2 years ago, I launched the Strategy Implementation Institute to fill a gap in the market, which I think most project managers cannot grow into strategy position or leadership position without that. Well, the three areas I'm going to cover in the next 25 minutes, and I'll go fast, is what's the project economy? What are the consequences? Why do we need to reinvent project management? And what's the role we can play in the future as project managers? How do we need to evolve to be successful? So there's two data points here. One, macro level. The world will never see as many projects as we'll see in the next 10 years with the reconstruction post-COVID, with the crisis. There is more investment and subsidies from governments than after the Second World War with the Plan Marshall. So the world needs good project managers. But the second point I want to point your attention is the way organizations are being structured. Over the past 100 years, the focus has been on operations, what we call running the business, running the organization, business as usual, the blue part. So most of the resources, most of the employees, most of the time of senior managers was spent on the blue side of the business. As you can see, there's a trend here, meaning that with all the new inventions and technology and management tools that you see here on the screen, and more like total quality management, business process reengineering, Mitali spoke about outsourcing. The blue part, the operations of any business are much more efficient today. You need less resources to run them. What has happened in parallel is that you find more people working in project types. When I talk project, it's a very broad word. It's about change initiatives. It can be implemented through agile methods, project, program, even some lean startups. So that's a big space. But you see a shift towards, so colleagues around your business, in your organization, you'll see that they're working in projects more and more. And they're not project managers, but they're spending a lot of time in projects. And what's going to happen, and is happening already in the next years, is that this is just going to be accelerating really, really fast. It happened in banking, for example, where they switched straight into operations is almost technology, everything. You don't need resources for that. So most of the people are working in agile teams, in projects. So this tells us that the future about work is project-based. Most of you, most of your colleagues, most of your bosses will be spending much more time, 3-4 days a week, into project change, transformation, digital initiatives. They're not prepared for that. Very few people are prepared for that. Even project managers are not prepared for that. But I think this is a positive side. The future is bright. The future is project-based work. I'm writing this book as we speak. Will be published in October by Harvard, and we did a survey with HBR, and just another data point here. About 50% of the people we interview of 1,280 said in the last years, 5 years, we've almost doubled and tripled the amount of projects we have in organization. So just kind of repeating what I said with a different data point. What does it mean in terms of how businesses are organized and run and managed? Well, it's completely different world. It's a completely disruption on the business model. What you see on the left is the type of business model that you used for a world driven by efficiency, where operations is the primary focus and most of the resources. So it's about generating revenues, it's about survival. The culture is about command and control and discipline. The focus is efficiency, volumes, cost, products. Operating plans drive the whole business. But when you move into a world driven by change, I think that's where we are today, although people don't realize, the culture is entrepreneurship, it's collaboration, innovation, transformation, benefits. That's the focus. And you'll have more strategic plans than actually operating plans. In terms of skills, and I'm going to cover that later, for the world driven by efficiency with operations primary, you need deep expertise. You need people who are experts in marketing, in production, in logistics, in sales, in HR. In a world driven by change, you need deep generalists. What does it mean? I'll let you know later. I think this is something very symbolic, but we all know the role of the chief operating officer. That role was very, very important. Number 2 in most organizations. But that role is dead. We don't need chief operating officers anymore. I think if operations is just 20% of the business and the rest is change, we will start seeing chief operating officer, chief transformation officer, chief change officer as number 2. Today you see some chief operating officer, but still they're not very powerful. I think they will become number 2. So I think that's another big opportunity. There's an impact on everything. As you can see in my chart, I work for this in the book. But one I want to highlight, because I know you are working in project management, PMOs and PPM. I think one of the biggest challenges that I see in the world of PMOs is that a PMO, according to almost all the books and methodologies I've seen, and the work I've been doing for 20 years as PMO director, is that it's a box in a hierarchy. If you know that, a PMO is just another box in a hierarchy. The higher in the hierarchy, the better. If we can report to the CEO, better, or the CFO, better. But it's a box in a hierarchy. Hierarchies are dead. Hierarchies are dead. So PMOs, as we know them today, are dead too. We need to reinvent PMOs. We need to make them more agile. We need to make them more strategic. That's another big topic. I have a presentation on that. But if you're in a PMO today and you're in a hierarchy, you're not going to last very long. A few months, maybe a few years. But hierarchies are dead. PMOs, as we've known them for the past 50 years, are dead too. It's a sinking boat. So despite this race of projects and everywhere projects and project work, our performance as project community, it's terrible. It's appalling. Any research that you look at into McKinsey, Harvard, Brightline, PMI, APM, they kind of say on average 6 or 7 projects fail out of 10. 60 to 70% failure in projects. That is terrible. Imagine if 7 out of 10 operations in a hospital, the patient dies. Or imagine 7 out of 10 planes crashes. This is what we're doing today with projects. I'm not saying it's the fault of the project manager. I think we're partially. There is the methodologies, which I think there is some outdated and things that we need to change. I'll share more, but we need to step up. We cannot afford. I'm working as a project manager, and in my profession, 70% of the projects fail. This is just not possible. So I want to urge the community of project managers, which I know very well, is we need to step up. We need to say, well, 3 projects out of 10 can fail, but 7 will be successful. If we would just do 7 projects out of 10 successfully, we will be generating the GDP of China every year, just by doing the projects right. So that's kind of setting the scene, the project economy. There's many things I think we need to change in project management, reinvent them. I will just pick up 3. I think we need to simplify the frameworks so that anybody can use them. We need to expand the life cycle of the project, and we need to think differently about constraints. So let me take you to the first one. If you think about the most successful management theories, they're very, very, very simple. If you think about strategy, what comes to mind is 5 forces of Michael Porter. Yes, we're talking about strategy, and you can discuss strategy in 1 slide and 5 elements. You don't need to be a PhD in strategy or a McKinsey consultant. If you want to think about marketing plans or marketing strategies, you look at Kotler, the 7 Ps, and you don't need to be a PhD in marketing to have a team discussing strategy. All of you in the call, you can talk about strategy, you can talk about marketing, because I made it. These people made it so simple that you are able to discuss and brainstorm and come up with some ideas. If you look at business models, you have the business model canvas from Alex Osterveld and Yves Pignon. So it's like 9 boxes, and you can discuss a business. If you look at Agile, one of the reasons why Agile was so popular, it was extremely simple. 1 slide tells you the principles. So the challenge is that for all the world, for us, I think professionals, I think the PMBOK is great, or Prince2, they're very, very good material. But nobody outside our sphere, like a sponsor or all these occasional project managers, will ever read the PMBOK, will never, because it's too heavy. So there's nothing. For about 95% of the people working in projects, there's nothing simple like this that they can engage in a project and help to make it better. Let me just do a small test. When was the first PMBOK published? You can put that in the chat. A, 1994, B, 1996, C, 1999, D, 1969. Just put it in the chat. Let's see how much you know about this. And second, so the right answer is 1996. But how long was the first PMBOK? And here is where I want to draw your attention. The first edition was published in 1996, not so long ago, just about 25 years ago. So it's very, very infant. But what you want to take your attention is the number of pages. You see, we've gone to 64 to the latest edition of the PMBOK has 756 pages, plus the Agile Guide, about 900 plus. Do you think anybody will read that? From the 95% of the people who are working in projects, will they ever not just read it, open the first page, get it, buy it? No. So we're doing projects where 95% of the people don't have a clue what we're talking about. I think, like I said, the PMBOK is amazing for people who want to be experts like us, but there's nothing. So I developed, I'm a good friend of Alex and Yves from the business model. We brainstorm, and I try to kind of replicate, or they inspire me to create a project canvas. So what you see is the project canvas of my earlier book, The Project Revolution, and you will recognize most of these fields. But I think if you can discuss around the table with your sponsors, stakeholders, and team, all these elements, does your project has a business case? Is that solid? Do we have a purpose? Because purpose is something I've added. Purpose is the most important indicator in a project for success. A project with a strong purpose, you'll get engagement. A project without a purpose and just a business case, you don't get engagement. Nobody gets excited working in a project which is going to bring 10% ROI. People get excited because you're going to find the vaccine for COVID, or you're going to make a more sustainable business. So with this, 14 boxes, 14 elements, building blocks, I told to Alex, listen, And they told me, Antonio, this is too many building blocks. You have 14. We have 9, and we're talking about the business. And I say, come on, Alex, give me a break. This is 756 pages summarized into one. But so I took their advice, and in the HBR book, I'm having just 9 building blocks. So I'm reducing, but this is for free. You can download from my page, my website, and people are using it for their meetings with checklists, also with colors. And at least the feedback is very, very positive, because everybody understands what are the key elements of a project. And if you have more than half read, then don't start the project, stop it. Some of the biggest challenges I've realized after many years doing these mistakes is that I thought that with a project management methodology, you could address all the projects. I've built many project management methodologies with a life cycle, with templates, and say all the projects need to go through this. And it's like giving you a hammer to solve all the problems at home, or just giving you a spoon to cook whatever dish you want. And this is so wrong. Why have we given everybody just one tool to fix all the problems? I just don't understand. And we still do that. So that is a big mistake. Second big mistake is in 2001, they launched Agile, and companies started to say, well, let's forget about traditional project management. Let's do Agile. So it's like saying, forget about the hammer, here a screwdriver. And with that, you can fix all the problems at home. It's lighter, so it's going to be faster. Or here's a fork, and you can cook whatever you want. And these are the two of the most important mistakes that the project management world has been putting on the table for the past 20, 30 years. I think what we need to build is we need to build a tool set like you have at home, like you have in your kitchen. Depending on the type of change, depending on the opportunity or the problem you want to solve, it is very, very complex. You might want to use mega projects. If the uncertainty is very, very high, don't even launch a project. Just think about it first. If you have high uncertainty, it's great to use Agile. Never use project management for a very high uncertainty. And the small complex and small uncertainty, never use project management. Why are we proposing to use project management for a 50 man-days project or a 100 man-days project? We're just killing everybody. So I think this is where we need to move towards. As implementation experts, we need to have a tool set. And it's not project management or Agile. It's not only Agile. This is a big, 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 big mistake. So I just want to open your eyes. We've doing wrong for many, many years, and I think it's time to change it. I think this leads for that 7 out of 10% projects failure. Partially, it leads to that. The other big issue is that knowing when to start a project is something critical, but we don't know when is the right time to start the project. So I wrote an article for HBR with a proposal on how to assess when is the right time to start the project. If your project starts too early, like when we're in the inexperienced area at the bottom of the S-curve, that project is doomed to fail. 100% will fail. So we should be smarter as PMOs or project managers saying, well, this idea is not ready to be a project. Sorry, boss. Sorry, team. We need to experiment a bit more. We need to prototype a bit more. Great example is Steve Jobs, where they gave him the idea of launching a phone, a mobile phone in 2001. He said, great idea, but it's not a project yet. We're focusing iTunes. We're focusing iPod. We set up a mini team. So they set a small team who work on learning about what's a phone. They had no clue. Technology partners. And only 3 years after, 3 years of experimentation, 3 years at the bottom of the S-curve. And only then Steve Jobs said, no, I think it's the right time. So now we're going full-blown into project. I get the best team from Apple. I get them full-time, 100% dedicated. I will be sponsoring this project. So count on me 2 days per week. And then, of course, that's state-of-the-art project management too from their side. In 2 years, 3 years ideation, 2 years implementation, they launched the phone. Another big mindset shift is, this is a hospital in Brussels where I live, and it's kind of state-of-the-art hospital. They started the construction in 2016. They finished, goal to finish 2020. So 4 years of construction from ground, from zero. My surprise was they opened the hospital in 2018, 2 years before it was supposed to be open. What did they do? They focus on benefits. They focus on benefits. So part of the hospital was operating, babies were born, people were treated, and the other part was being constructed. We can do that for all our projects. Why don't we do it more? It's more complex, of course. It's different type of planning. You need to think about noise and safety much more when you're operating while you're building. But this is the future. The future is about this type of projects, not the one that you build on the right everything and in 4 years you launch. We need to find ways to accelerate benefits and focus on benefits. That's what matters to stakeholders. So what does it mean to the project life cycle that we've been using for 20 years? You see the white part there. Today, we don't care at all what happens in ideation. We care only when we get the business case or the idea that we develop. We make a plan, we implement, we close it. We don't care at all what happens with the run, with what we build. We don't care. And we don't care about benefits. We mentioned that a few times because it sounds important, but actually, do we care? Do we put them as priority? No. So that's how we've been doing project management for 30, 40 years. That's dead. What's going to happen, and it's happening, and we need to move fast, is that we do need to spend more time, 20% on the ideation. We need to be referees of saying, well, this idea is not ready to be a project. This idea should be used agile method. This idea is the really one, the big bet. We're going to do a project on that. We need to care of what happens on the project afterwards. There's nobody that knows more about something that the project delivers than the project manager. Why do we need to run away when the product or the new organization is ready? The white part is going to be heavily impacted by artificial intelligence, automation. So I hope very soon we'll have AI just disrupting project management and wiping away about 80% of what we do. I hope that happens soon. I have some research done on that, and I think there's very interesting machine learning algorithms out there. And the last part for me, the benefits. I think this is where we need to focus. This is where the methodologies that we've learned have been wrong or are a bit outdated. Why are we planning on deliverables? Why don't we have plans on benefits? Who cares about the deliverables? Your stakeholders or stakeholders, they just care about the benefits. When are you going to start getting that? When are we going to be more sustainable? How are we progressing with climate? How are we progressing with digital? And what are the benefits? So I think that's where we need to do a big shift. Last part, and I need to accelerate. I think this is another of the myths of project management, the iron triangle, scope, time, cost, and quality. I think is wrong. And we've learned that. I think you can measure project success on this only, but this is what we've learned. So another big issue, how come we didn't realize? Give me a couple of examples. How would you consider a project that was originally scheduled for 4 years and budget 7 million, it costed a little bit more, 102 millions, and it took a little bit more than 4 years. All our KPIs are red. This project should have never been finished. After year 5, 6, it should have stopped. According to our methodologies and KPIs, this project should have been stopped, right? I'm talking about the Sydney Opera House. Why your methodologies and KPIs tell us stop, stop, stop? This is a disaster of a project when the Sydney Opera House has become a symbol of Sydney, when they recover all the budget overrun in 1 year, when they make billions out of it. Why do we have KPIs that tell us this is wrong? No, so I'm developing, this is, as we speak, this is concepts that I'm developing. I think we need to have a relevance, a triple constraint benefits. It's about the value, the risk, the sustainability. This is what matters to stakeholders. We should be aware of these trade-offs and what are we producing. Another example is this is a project which is 100 years late. Of course, read and stop it. I'm talking about Sagrada Familia in Barcelona. I'm a big fan of Real Madrid, so I don't like Barca too much, but I love Barcelona. I love Sagrada Familia, and they're 100 years late. Do they care? No. Why? Because they're making benefits every day. Before the COVID, millions of visitors. So if your project is making benefits, why would you care? And then the second, the project is very late, but the people working there are the most engaged people I've come across. So I think we need to develop an engagement triple constraint. It's about the alignment of the people in the team with the purpose. Are you dedicated? And are you recognized? Are you recognizing your team? So I think that the triple constraint is good, the one we know, but it's our internal kitchen. What people want to know is the value, the benefits, the alignment, and the engagement of the team. So this is work in progress, but just trying to give you a bit of hints, views of what I'm working, where I think we should be all working. I don't have the single truth. I think this is something that the community needs to develop together. And the last part, briefly, I tell you, we're coming from a world driven by efficiency to a world driven by change. Efficiency meant specialization, deep skills, core competencies. If you were a project manager in a world driven by efficiency, they will call you, you're a generalist. I heard that so many times in my career, say, you don't have a future. Your career is going to be very slow. If you want to make a career, go into finance, marketing, sales. That's where you will climb the ladder very quickly. That was true. But now in a world driven by change, we need different skills. And it's about deep generalists. It's about driving the organization to success in the future. I'll tell you a brief story about a friend, Cesar. We play football. We were very good friends when we were kids, and he's Atletico Madrid, I'm Real Madrid. So we were all teasing each other. I didn't see him for 20 years. I met him in Singapore 5 years ago, and he was Microsoft vice president working with Bill Gates and Balmer. I said, Cesar, what happened with you? Tell me about what you did. And Cesar said, well, I started selling Microsoft Office software, this package, the Excel, the Word in Madrid. I was quite good on sales, but at one point, Microsoft wanted to go to ERP market, SAP, huge market. Microsoft is not a player, was not. They bought Navision, Scandinavian ERP, and they asked Cesar, do you want to lead this project? Do you want to manage this integration and the creation of our ERP unit? And Cesar said, yeah, I want to do it. So he learned project management, certified. He spent 3 years building that unit integration with Navision. He created the ERP division for Microsoft. Very successful, on-time synergies. And I said, Cesar, and then what other project did you do after? Probably something very strategic. You were very good with this project. He said, no, Antonio, I didn't take another project. I said, what? What happened? How come you don't take another project after you complete another project successful? This is what we all do, 100% of project managers. This is what we do. When we finish a project, we start a new one, and hopefully better. And Cesar told me, no, I asked my bosses, I want to run the new division. I want to be the CEO of the ERP Microsoft division. And I say, Cesar, you just opened my eyes. Why do we have to run always back to zero? There's nobody that knows more about the projects than you, the project managers. Why do we need to run away and leave the what we build, the website, the product, the service, the unit, somebody else? This is so wrong. I understand that if you're in public sector and you're building a bridge, but why within organizations do we need to run away and not run what we built? So that's another big thing that needs to change. So in terms of skills, and I'm finishing here, this is what you've seen. I think we need to build all of this. Agile versus project management, dead. That's so wrong. Stop thinking like that. This is wrong. You need to build all this. The more, the better. You've been really great if you have all this. Then it's about end-to-end expertise. It's what I call strategy implementation professionals. You think about, you're an entrepreneur. You have an idea. You ask for funds. They give you the funds and resources. You build that startup and you run the startup. This is how we need to think about projects in the future. This is how Asian companies do it. Alibaba, this is how they work. Alibaba has been the factory of CEOs of the future. They built about 450 CEOs because they applied the approach here. So I think this is really the future for project managers. If we change, if we adapt, the future is really, really for us. But you see, it impacts everything: PMOs, PPM, portfolio management, and our skills. We need to reinvent ourselves. I'm giving you here some ideas, and I hope you can work on that. We are building, just finalizing. We have a master class with Y summits on the project canvas and much more than what you see here. And we're thinking about creating one on strategy implementation. What does it mean? And you can find downloadable stuff here on the project canvas, the project manifesto, chapter 1. Thank you. I think that was all what I wanted to tell you in just on time.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Antonio. I really like the way you have talked to us about rethinking completely project management. I think we are really in the right time, and you have the right message for us. And I like really the way you told us that we can reshape the project life cycle from being driven by efficiency to change. I think this is so valid, and I really like the way you transform the classical triple constraints of time, cost, scope and quality to benefits with value, risk, and sustainability. I think that's so needed for a world where we are facing so much of sustainability risks. And also on the engagement, I think it is a beautifully made, that the triangle with alignment, dedication, and recognition. I think that speaks so much to large teams, where you have to give the recognition. You have to have the most engaged teams. So thank you so much. I really encourage, and and I really encourage everyone in the audience and fellow speakers who are attending this conference to join Antonio for his masterclass. I have attended a few of them, and every time I receive a lot of new insights, which I apply in my portfolios. And so thanks again. And with this, we will just take a couple of minutes to go backstage, and we'll come up with the next speaker, who is Christian Slersch. So yeah, just wait for a minute, and we'll be back with the new speaker.
Bye. Thank you, Itun.
Thank you, Antonio. See you soon.